Alright, I'm going to take a close look at this part and point out some things that need to be addressed and improved on to help your models be a little bit more robust. When I look at this part, the first thing that jumps out at me is, I'm looking at the mass of the part and I'm seeing that there's a big error there. So I open the part to try to figure out what's going on. And the first thing I notice is the shape of the part. So we've got this rectangular shaped notch, which should be a rounded shape. So, it looks like you started a sketch here with a circle, and you were probably going to try to cut that away, and for whatever reason it didn't pan out. But I want to show you how to address that, and I'm also going to take a closer look at some of the other features and point out some things that you want to take advantage of and make some improvements to. So one of the things that I like to do when reviewing these parts is just kind of roll back and see how the part was made. So if we drag this end of part back below the first feature, I see the first thing that you made, which is exactly the same thing that would be the first thing that I would make. So your approach to the part is good. But if I take a closer look at the sketch, I can see some things that are concerning to me. The biggest thing being the sketch is not fully defined. So it says here that we need 4 dimensions needed to fully define the sketch. I can see that all the lines are green, and that means that they're underdefined and they can move about. So, particularly this shape here is a bad thing. That generally means there's dimensions missing, or it's not anchored to the origin. In this case, I think both of those are true. So we for sure need a dimension between this center point and this center point, which is given to us in the problem as 2.5. So that's going to help change the mass. And we also want to try to keep this opening or this gap in the center. There's different ways that we can do that. I like to use geometry, so I'm going to create a line through here, and I'm going to use the construction line, which you may not have had a chance to use that yet. But I'm going to draw 2 construction lines. I'm going to draw one across the endpoint to endpoint there, and then I'm going to place another one on that midpoint to this midpoint. So I've got some construction lines here. Now I'm going to add some features to improve that. So I want to keep this line vertical. Okay, taking a closer look, I can see that this dimension is keeping us from making that line vertical. So we'll make this line vertical, and that kind of locks everything, centered up proportionally. And the next thing I'd want to do is lock this onto the origin. So I'm going to take the origin point here and make that at the center point of that. And you can see how the colors of the lines changed from green to dark blue, and it also says fully constrained. That's what we want to have on our parts. So I'm going to hit the check mark to finish that sketch, and then I can move on down to your next extrusion here, and again I can see what's going on and how you would approach that. You started with a rectangle and went upward. I'm going to move this back up and take a different approach. So my approach is going to be on this face. So I'm going to start a new sketch here, and I'm going to project a line in across the bottom here, and I'm going to draw a line up over. I'm going to kind of recreate that rectangle that you had extruded upwards, and I'm also going to put a circle across here. I'll trim this piece away like so using the trim, and I'll place the hole in here. And it's important that these all stay centered up along this origin. So I'm going to use a vertical relation between the center point of this hole and the origin, and then I'm going to add the dimensions to size this. So we should be 1 inch up. We should have a radius of 0.625, and we should have a diameter of this hole at 0.5. Now notice I'm not fully defined, and I can tell what I need is based on this edge here. So the missing relation that we need here is what's called a tangent. So if I apply a tangent between this line and this arc, it rounds that corner, and the same thing on the other side between this arc and this line. I get that rounded corner. And again, my sketch is fully constrained. So now I'm ready to extrude. So I'm going to use the extrude tool. I'm going to select the area that I want to extrude, and I could type in a 0.5, but I know that this is probably always going to be the same thickness as that. So it's a better practice to build in the design intent. Let's see if I can change this. To keep that extrusion flush with this back extrusion, and that way if it does change, I don't have to type in another number to repair that. It's gonna stay alive and be the right size. You know, the orientation's a little bit off from where it should be. This is kind of the orientation we were hoping for, which would mean this would be the front view. You can change that easy enough. So I think this may come out of my viewing windows. Let me move that over a little bit. So if I right click on this, I can pick set current view as front, and now it's kind of back into the game. Well, maybe not. And then I'm going to also set the current view as home. So now I think we've got it lined up here. And the last thing we want to make sure that we always do is assign the material. So the material, if I go to the eye property, so I right click on the part at the top of my feature manager and choose eye properties and physical. There's no material assigned, so it's just generic. If we get the mass right here, that would be what I'm looking for in the answer on the Excel sheet. So I'm going to change that to be mild steel, and so this is the answer or the solution that I'm looking for in Microsoft Excel for this particular part. So take those bits of information, particularly choosing a face to start on that'll help you achieve the shape that you want easier, and building in the design intent with the mates, as well as assigning the material, and I think you'll be a lot happier with your outcomes. Fully defined sketches is real critical too, because that'll keep things from moving about and changing on you that you may not have wanted to happen. As far as the other parts go on the Excel spreadsheet, I think there was some confusions on which ones you did versus which ones I was expecting to be done. Through addition changes of the books, often students have different editions, and so I very rarely refer to the books. I know the instructions said at the end of the chapter, so you followed those to a T, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and I took a look at your parts. Your parts look much better than what the spreadsheet showed they did. So I'm going to adjust the grade there for you. But if you have any questions about this, you can give me a call, and we can work it out a little bit better. But hopefully this will help get you in the good direction.